If you did not see, possibly not, defensive coordinator Steve Wilks is out in San Francisco. He gone. Gonzo, jettisoned, dumped, tossed overboard, scrapped, removed of his duties, asked to turn in his card key, however you want to say it, thrown to the scrap heap. The 49ers coach, Kyle Shanahan, fired the defensive coordinator a few days after the Super Bowl loss to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So let's discuss the question. How do you quantify defensive coordinator Steve Wilks being whacked by the team just days after the Super Bowl run? So I've got Priest, Good Cop, and Chess, and we will combine all of these things together and hope that things run smoothly. But you'll be the judge of that. So, as I learned from a Hall of Fame level receiver, Chris Carter, years ago, everyone's got to have a fall guy. Got to have a fall guy when the wheels fall off. Kyle Shanahan's not going to fire himself. So it was a disaster. You had multiple leads, fourth quarter overtime. You lost the game. Kyle Shanahan has a cloud around him in big games. Ownership clearly not happy. So there's this balancing act. The owner's like, I'm mad enough. I'm going to chew on nails. This is ridiculous. Someone had to pay the price. That someone, it turns out, the first of likely more than just him, Steve Wilks. He gone. Kyle Shanahan, what he did here is he went to visit a priest. He stopped by the confessional booth, and he talked to the priest. He said, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." And I guess he hadn't been to confession in a couple years. But this is an admission, is what it is. It is an admission. It is validation. Shanahan was more than comfortable to save his own job by sacrificing Steve Wilks because Steve Wilks was just passing through. He was a newbie. He was only in San Francisco for one season. The last two Niners defensive coordinators became head coaches. Robert Saleh, who's more of a motivational speaker than a head coach, and D'Amico Ryans there in Houston, who's actually done a good job. He's only there for 1 year. But in terms of Steve Wilks, there clearly was no bond. Now, I went back and I was trying to process exactly when the tipping point was. And I have determined, after a seconds-long review of the 49er season, while the Niners were statistically worse than they had been in the previous year, that was to be expected, that they were not going to be as good, but they were good enough to get to the Super Bowl. But for me, the point of demarcation was the NFC title game, when multiple San Francisco defenders were caught lollygagging around the field, not hustling, one even walking as the play cut back, a Lion running back cut back towards him. The lack of effort in an NFC championship game, unacceptable. So it goes without saying, but we know that Kyle Shanahan does not have the balls to fire himself. He's not going to go into the owner and say, listen, it was my fault. I'll leave. And that combined with the Super Bowl defeat, the final nail in the coffin. Now, if the Niners had won that game and in a parallel dimension, they do win that game, then Wilks continues on as the defensive coordinator, but that's not the dimension that we're in. The dimension we are in saw that go to defeat. Now, we'll go to Kansas City. I understand there was the shooting after the parade. I don't consider that a sports story, so we won't spend too much time on that. But there were some things that happened at the event, the rally in Kansas City that took place. So among the things that stood out, we had Chris Jones, the star defensive player, who is a free agent. He is free to roam around the NFL and go to another team. But he announced that he is not going anywhere. And just to prove I'm not making this up, this is Chris Jones commenting on his status at the Kansas City Chiefs championship event.
I need 3 of those rings, baby. We ain't done yet. Kansas City, we will be back here next year. And for those who want Chris Jones gone, I ain't going nowhere, baby.
Yeah, Pretty good. Does that change the situation? Does Chris Jones announcing he ain't going anywhere change the situation with the Chiefs? That's the question. So it reminded me of when I was a kid, professional wrestling. It's like, come on out to the convention center on Saturday. Oh, yeah. It's just what this really does, though, is it turns the heat up on the Kansas City front office. It puts more of a fire on the burner behind the tuchus of the Chiefs to get a deal done, right? Jones is playing the good cop. He's out there screaming like a vintage professional wrestler that he wants to.
Slim Jim. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He wants to stay in Missouri. He wants to win another championship, and he's looking to keep the good vibrations going. And so what he has done is, while he's the good cop, he puts the Chiefs into the position of being the bad cop, meaning that if they, in his eyes, lowball him or fail to work out a deal, Chris Jones can merely shrug his shoulders and say, I wanted to stay. See, I wanted to stay, and they wouldn't give me the deal. It's on them, and it's not my fault. Now, it is conceivable that they have the framework done on an extension, but unlikely. Although I have noticed from years gone by, teams that have won the Super Bowl. I remember when the Rams won a couple years ago, they just started handing out cartoon checks, oversized checks to people. And then about a week later, we're like, what have we done? What are we doing? And Chris Jones certainly can benefit from that. I mean, this is the double shot here for Kansas City back-to-back as they end up winning 2 Super Bowls in a row. So there's the large dopamine hit, the brain's reward center, after winning 2 Super Bowls. And so you do irrational things. And I am a salary cap truther. So I am of the belief that you can pay Chris Jones whatever he wants and just have the bankers figure it out. That's all you have to do. Just have the bankers figure out what you need to make the numbers work. Now, the last word here, staying with the theme in Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes got on the microphone, and he made his own guarantee about a three-peat that the Chiefs are going to win a third one. So what does Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes all but guaranteeing a three-peat mean? So on this one, it means that Patrick was in the moment. He was in the moment, and much like Chris Jones sounded like a professional wrestler, Patrick Mahomes sounded like he was a Muppet on a lot of caffeine, and he was enjoying getting a rise out of the crowd there. This is a no-lose situation, though, for Mahomes. And I have said for years, we talk about these parades and the pep rallies, which these things are, and my position has always been consistent. You should always guarantee you're going to win another championship. It is a no-lose situation because Mahomes, he's playing a game of chess where every single move he makes, he's a winner. Forget the whole he's the greatest quarterback going right now and all that. He makes this bold decree. The crowd goes wild. And if you're right, your words are immortalized. If you're wrong, they are ignored as, just heat of the moment stuff, and that's it. Nothing to lose and a lot to gain. Nothing to lose, a lot to gain. And I saw a story the other day. I think it was from Mahomes' odd wife there, who's an SI model. Wow. That tells you SI did go out of business. But anyway, she's like, well, he said they were going to win the Super Bowl. Mahomes did, months ago. And I'm like, okay, I bet you Josh Allen texted somebody in Buffalo, said we're going to win the Super Bowl. I bet you Lamar Jackson sent a text to somebody saying we're going to win the Super Bowl. We don't hear about those because those teams didn't win the Super Bowl, but I'm pretty sure Mahomes is not the only one that sent out a text message saying we're going to win the Super Bowl. But as far as this is concerned, again, it's just a position of, hey, in the big picture there, you say it because if you win, people will bring the tape up, and if you lose, they forget about it. And what else is there to say? We're not planning on winning next year, but we hope you support us. Throw some cynicism out there, right? I don't think we're actually going to win. I think we're going to lose a bunch of guys. So, shocking position. The Chiefs are looking to win again in 2024. Did not expect that. I don't know about you. I did not expect that to be the case.